And joining me again with more perspective on the global refugee crisis is Security and Foreign Affairs legal analyst Johanna Leblanc. Johanna, let's talk about some of the legal challenges these refugees face in host countries.
So I'll look at this in the context of the United States, right? So when you have refugees come to the U.S., there is pathway to permanent residency and ultimately U.S. citizenship. So let's just make that clear. And I think refugees are aware of that fact. But there are some other legal challenges that they face. For instance, driving laws, right? The laws that protect one in the workplace, right? Healthcare law. So every single institution that you could think of that they will have access to, there are laws that govern them. So sometimes as a refugee coming from your country and sometimes you may not even speak English properly, right? Or speak English at all. So trying to maneuver these different systems, right? And trying to understand what your rights are as a member of this now new society, right? Sometimes can be a little bit challenging. And I think that's why organizations that are created to interact and to provide services to refugees are so critical.
What about Africa? See, like so many refugees are from Sudan, in South Sudan, some of them living in Uganda, others living in Kenya, and they are drawn from different countries of Africa. You know, what are some of the legal challenges they face there? Because people think probably Africans speak the same language, they all speak different languages, even within one country. What are some of the challenges and how can those be overcome?
You know, and that's a very good question, right? And it's a very loaded question you just asked. There's no easy answer because the fact of the matter is those are individuals who are victims of persecution, right? Or maybe they're from countries that are torn by wars and natural disasters and such, so they have to be displaced and go to a foreign land where they don't even speak the language, where sometimes their rights are not even protected. So in the context of Africa, it's a little bit different than the refugee laws we have here in the United States. But in the context of Africa, I will say, even though we're 54 countries in Africa with different languages, different cultural beliefs and such, we have to embrace our brothers and sisters. We have to ensure that as a host country, we have systems in place to properly accommodate those people so that they can pursue life, liberty, and happiness, because that's all they're looking for.
Now, as you talk about accommodating those people, some of the things you think about if you became a refugee is how are you going to deal with this new place, new country, the psychological effects of a refugee? How do, you know, maybe the UNHCR or medical personnel in various countries help those refugees cope with being uprooted from their home countries, being in a new country and facing all these, you know, numerous challenges?
Yeah, obviously there are psychological implications of having to resettle elsewhere because there are people who they leave their entire families behind and they're in a different new setting, right? They don't know anyone and they're trying to navigate this society, right? And then also you have people who were brutally abused in their country. Now they come with the psychological issues, and we need to ensure that there are systems, there are programs available to properly address the medical and the psychological challenges.
Any easy solutions, you know, very briefly, any solutions at all? Because this is enormous.
You know, it's really hard, right? Because when we think about why some of these countries are in the positions that they're in to the point where people have to flee and go to other countries, we have to look at foreign policies, right? How those foreign policies have in a way undermined democracy in that particular country. And we also have to look at how international sanctions have led to the crippling of the economy of these countries to the point where people can't live there. They cannot pursue life, liberty, and happiness, so they find themselves going to another country. So I think that when it comes to the issue of refugees, we have to take a global approach. What role does the West play in it, right? What role does countries throughout the continent of Africa play in this, right? And then that's the only way we will reach a solution. We have to look at who are the key players, who are the decision makers who are impacting the lives of those people so bad that they have to flee their homes and be settled in a society where they don't know the language, they don't know anyone.
Johanna, thank you so much for this excellent insight into this topic. Johanna Leblanc is a security and foreign affairs legal analyst.